Well, it's 1 o'clock Eastern on October 23rd, 2020. And I am Michelle Tennant Nicholson. I co founded Wasabi Publicity. I co wrote this book. And if you're interested in this book in 2020, just hashtag 21-day PR action guide challenge. We've been doing a challenge each month during the pandemic to help people pivot. So, how do you get public relations in the middle of a pandemic? And so, we've been giving it away for free, giving our secrets away for free. And if you found yourself in a recording or live with me, then chances are you're interested in public relations too. But we also use this call as a way to ground ourselves in creativity and actually looking forward to what's next. We're at October 23rd, 2020, and it's the last Friday call of the October challenge. And so we're talking about the gift of gab. We're talking about also evaluating our why. So not only like what do you do after you score the interviews and the articles, but then what do you actually do compared to your why? Why are you doing PR, and are the placements that you're scoring actually related to your why? So that's like the broad function of today's call. If you're wanting to follow along in the guidebook, the workbook, I'm going to be talking a lot about page 147. So some of our participants really like, where are we in the book? So we're in the last part of the book. We're going to actually be doing a November series as well. So we're going to be taking a week off, and then we're going to be coming back. So mark your calendars now for November 6th, 13th, and the 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be doing live calls again. We're going to start a whole other challenge. I like to, with all of our clients here at Wasabi Publicity, I like to start fresh every month. So at the end of every month, we create the next month. So right now, we're looking at all of the pitch angles that we're going to be doing next month, and I recommend that you do the same. We're going to be doing a little bit of lecture, conversation, what I learned from being in the PR trenches the past 31 years. But then we're going to break into breakout rooms, actually make the content come alive for you, where you can actually practice pitching, you can actually practice angles, and then we're going to come back together. I got feedback from last week that you really like me coaching one person to kind of pull them out as an example and then teaching you that way. So we're going to do more of that today, and I have no idea who that is. We're just going to do that spontaneously. I am wearing my Betty Boop t-shirt. It is Friday, it's casual Friday, and I'm feeling a little frisky. So come on, Betty Boop with me. All right, so right now in the chat room, please, oh, thank you, Mitch. Go ahead and pitch yourself. So the first thing we always do is pitch yourself in the chat. So you know how like you're in other Zoom rooms and you go, oh, I really want to tell everybody who I am, but you feel funny about plugging yourself because for some reason that we're shamed to plug. Not me. Everybody knows I'm a publicist, so I'm a walking plug. In fact, let me just start with this story, because I think that everybody gets freaked out about this story, and I think it's hilarious and true. So I was on a board recently. Okay, it was the co-op board, so I'm just going to steal it. If you're local in Western North Carolina, I don't care. That's fine. You know where it was. Right, Hannah? So Hannah is my co-host in the whole call. So she'll be muting you, unmuting you, and playing goddess during this whole hour. So anyway, I am an international publicist. So if you put me on a local city board, guess what I bring to the party? It's PR. like I just think in PR, like that's just what I just do, right? So anyway, a retired psychologist who happened to also be the president of the co-op stopped me in the store and was like, come over here, I want to tell you something. I was like, oh, I'm actually running late for a meeting, so walk with me out to the car. So indicative of not a heavy conversation if you're going to follow somebody who's on schedule to the car, right? Well, all of a sudden he said, listen, I have been asked by another board member to ask you to brag less. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't think that I heard you right, because I think you just asked me about another board person to come to you to ask me to brag less. And he goes, no, you heard me right. And I said, that's super awesome. First of all, tell that board member to come speak to me directly. Okay. Because I don't know what this roundabout thing is, but you can just ask me directly. Secondly, your request to brag less is declined, because that's what I bring to the table, bragging. And if there's anything that this grocery store needs more than anything, is bragging in the community so they know how wonderful it is. And third, I'm furious over this conversation. Like, I had this smile and I said, but I'm running to another meeting. So I'm going to just journal and think about what you just said. And I'll call you later and let you know why I'm so furious. Okay, let's hug it out. Let's hug it out. So then we hugged it out, right? The story is just like crazy, right? Okay. I did call a friend that I know through one of my clients, a personal development course. She lives in Manhattan. And I was like, hey, Joss, do you have a minute? Just call. I just need to talk something out because I can't figure out why I'm so furious about what just happened. And she's laughing and laughing. She goes, you're furious? Like, let's just talk it out and see. Well, we came to the fact that people were gossiping about me. So I called him back and I said, hey, it's Michelle. We just talked a few hours ago and you asked me to stop bragging. And I declined that because that's what I actually teach people to do. And I make a lucrative living, by the way, doing that. Well, guess what? I understood why I'm actually furious. It's because you were gossiping about me. So I request you stop gossiping about me. Okay, bye-bye. Like, literally, it was like that. And then he emailed me back and he apologized. He goes, you're absolutely right. And I love him. I mean, he's great, right? And then the other person, she just, she was just always gossiping about me. And so then that's just like a nice lesson in the whole thing, the human nature, human behavior of why people gossip. But the thing that was always hilarious to me is the bragging piece. Like, why are we not really at one with talking about our accomplishments? And then I often work with clients. The first thing I have to deal with is the telling of the stories to the external world about you, right? So that's really what this is, right? So if we look at the workbook, all it really is, the first part is, well, what value do you have for the public, for the mass public, right? And then it's like, okay, well, let's just figure that out. Message, let's deliver the message. And then you're in the interviews doing that message. That's really it. It's really the art of bragging. And today, because we have so many channels, it's also, what is brag-worthy PR? Because not every PR, and then it also depends on your why. So in my blog, Hannah, throw in the chat room. Okay, nobody else is really bragging. Okay, perfect. Oh, we had a funny thing here. What do we say here? Gossiping is the opposite of bragging. Jealousy, not respect for your success. Where's Mitch? Let's unmute Mitch. Let's talk about it. I'd like to actually understand the nuances of what you just wrote there. And then everybody else, just brag. I want you to brag. Just talk. This is the place to practice, okay? And then Hannah, yes, please put in, you can find my past blogs about hashtag 21-day PR action guide since the spring at that blog. She's also got a YouTube channel where you can actually see the past calls. That's the Wasabi Publicity YouTube channel, which we'll put in the chat. And then there's also where you can get the book, where you can download the book, no opt-in, no cost. We're really literally just giving it away. So Mitch, tell me more about the differences between gossiping and bragging from your view. I see the making of an article here.
Well, definitely the making of an article. So what you have is when people feel less than, it's easy to snipe. And that's what gossiping is all about. When you feel better than, that's bragging. Now, again, bragging is not to be hurtful to the recipient, but gossiping is. So they're sort of like equal and opposites, right? And when a person brags, they're celebrating a success. They're touting a value. When a person is gossiping, they're trying to knock somebody down, trying to hurt them, trying to demean them, and so they're opposite ends of the push and pull.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that also gossip, I want to also make conscious in for all of us that we can gossip about ourselves, right? And so that's I think that gossip diminishes the light of another, right? So when I'm actually listening to people, if it feels like gossip, it feels yucky. Like, I'm all of a sudden feeling bad about the person you're talking about, or I'm feeling bad about myself because I'm now, it's one thing if I tell something about myself and it's funny. It's quite another if I go on and on and on about, and that's what people do, by the way, when they're speaking to the press. And so the way that you speak to everybody is sort of like a little microcosm of then what you're actually going to amplify to the world, Mitch.
Yeah. So if you talk to a professional comedian, self-deprecation is part of their humor. Deprecating somebody else off bounds.
Yeah, and we feel it.
So that's the difference between gossip and bragging, right? When you brag about what your flaws are, you're basically turning them into something valuable, whether that's a laugh or whatever. But if I'm looking at your weakness, at your flaw, and I'm shouting the world that you've got a flaw, I'm basically saying, well, yeah, I have flaws, but don't look at me, look at them. And again, it's a self-worth thing in my view. And people that have a weak self-assessment typically like to point fingers at others, but I always like to say that when you do that, these three fingers are pointing back at you.
Yes, I say the same thing. And when somebody says something that really annoys you, like you just it's nagging you after a while, um, it has more to say about you than it does them, right? I mean, it's like, why is that
Either
stick?
bring it out in the open and talk about it
Yeah.
because the discussion will release the tension, or ignore it and move on.
And these are the secrets, by the way, of what your pitches should be, right? So if you're, that's that old Sex in the City thing, where she's like, I wonder if, like, so she's going about her life, the main character, and then she has the next, and they literally write that way. Okay,
Mhm.
writers write that way. If you don't know of a columnist, her name is Elizabeth Bernstein. She's been writing for the Wall Street Journal. She has a column called Bond, the Bond column. So it's like a double entendre of the bonds that we share as human beings in relationship, but then also the bonds of financial bonds, right? But I've known Elizabeth and have pitched her since 2003. I pitched her before she had that column. I pitched her when she was a philanthropy writer. So these relationships that you have with the journalist over time, and that's the other thing that I talked about this week in the blog was bite-sized PR, right? So what's sustainable? Elizabeth's one of those relationships that I like, that's what I keep close to my heart. And I'm always watching what she's writing or doing so that when I communicate with her, or she comes to, sometimes she comes and visits locally because of the family that she has, then she's like a friend. She is a friend, right? And I'm up to speed on what she's doing publicly in her life. But then I can also pitch her, and she writes like the Sex and the City character, like, I'm grappling with this in my life, and now I'm going to actually deal with it in a macro way, not just myself, but like, let's talk about it in the column. And a lot of our writers will do that. So if you see something that they're struggling with or they're sharing on social media, that's an in for them. If you see that they like French recipes, send them a French recipe, treat them like a human being. And they're dealing with gossip and brag-worthy type of stuff too, right? But what we're doing really in PR is bragging. Okay, what we're really doing is celebrating accomplishments and just putting on loudspeaker what you guys are talking about behind closed doors, that would make a difference for another human being. So with that said, let's really jump into the storytelling. So there's a whole lot, and this time of the month we always look at the storytelling aspect of what we do. But I really want to get into making your PR bite-sized. So one of the things that on page 147 that they talk about is that the as if it's not me, myself, and I with Drew. What we talked about was thinking bite size and forming a team and then tracking results. So that's where we are with our challenge. And so who's on your wish list? And your wish list should be bite size, like somebody that you can actually call. If you have limited time, then the list should be 25 people or less, because you're only going to be able to call them maybe a couple a day, right? But if you're maintaining thousands of relationships like a PR firm, and some of you are marketing professionals, then what structure do you have in place so that your people feel the relationship? I've had plenty of podcasters. I called a podcaster because she had canceled 3 times in a row for the client, and I called to complain. And she goes, "This is when you call me? This is when you call me? After all the shows that we've done together, you're calling to complain." And that was a mistake I made, right? It really hurt her feelings that I wasn't calling just to say, "How's your dog?" So it always, relationships are always that way. If you don't nurture them, then the other person is actually feeling that. So right now we're going to break into groups, and we're going to talk about your bite-sized PR, what you can actually do on a weekly basis, daily basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, what lights you up and turns you on, but then also the structure that you're going to have. Are you going to put it in your calendar to remind you? Are you going to hire another team to do it? Are you going to hire another team person? When we grew to a certain size and I couldn't make all the phone calls, I had to hire a phoner. And, that person makes phone calls with me. I have several. So let's break into groups and talk about how you're going to be doing your PR, your sustainable PR campaign. And sometimes we have too much time, sometimes we don't have enough time, sometimes it's just right. And I'm going to jump into the conversation by just saying that it's perfect. However the break happened is perfect. However you're doing PR is perfect. So Clements, we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to do, Clements and Rita said they were, the people I was in a small group with, they said they would be willing to be coached. So let's go with Clements. Rita, hang out though. Okay, Clements. So why don't you share for the group? Why don't you practice your pitch, who you are, and then talk a little bit about your sustainable PR plan.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. So I help people define and preserve their legacy by writing their memoirs or publishing books about their family history. And so, there's a $150 billion industry in the estate planning world, and they help us share what we've accumulated. But where is the industry that's helping us share everything we have up here, our life experiences and our stories? So that's what I do. One of my clients made a book for her dad about her dad at the end of his life, and he slept with that book at his bedside table every night. And now that he's gone, she has, the memory, not just through the book, but of what the book did for their relationship. And, that's what life's all about and family's all about.
That's really nice. You've been working on that.
I have.
Do y'all like that? I like that. Yeah. So in particular, what I like is the visual, right? Like all of a sudden I was thinking back to, and by the way, we're not going to cry. Okay. But I've had really 2 close people lose their fathers this week alone. And so, I'm like, and then you got the pandemic. So one's on the phone and she's, having to travel to another state to take care of her dad's farm and whatever. Today she gets I got like a bunch of self-care stuff off of Amazon, like a fluffy pullover and some little stuff to put in your shower, socks, like, so she's going to be getting that. I think she's going to be surprised. I can't wait till I get a text like, I got all that crap you sent me from Amazon. But then my neighbor, his dad died the night before last, and he was at my door, and I couldn't even give him a big hug. It's just hard right now. And then my dad died in 2004, and I remember being on his bedside. So that visual, right, everybody, that visual it's very, very poignant. I love that. And that's really what good storytelling is that I was media training a client this week, and and he's expert, right? And of course, when you have an expert speaker, they don't always have a beginner's mind. So it's hard because they're so expert, it's hard to kind of make a contribution sometimes. And that's the one thing that I'm going to teach him, or hope that he will accept from me, is the narrative of storytelling inside an interview is everything. Because we as humans don't relate except through storytelling. This is the fundamental. That's what makes us different from fish, by the way. Okay. Or, other beings on the planet, right? Trees. Okay. We talk with each other. So Clemens, the thing that I want to talk to you about is, how are you going to get that pitch out there? Because that's what we were talking about in the break. And you were like, I'm a week behind and it's okay. I'll just probably do it next year.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. These meetings are super helpful for me because I feel like every week I have a goal of something I need to do for my PR. Because when this had started, I didn't have a pitch. I would just say, yeah, I help people, write books about themselves.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. So that I've accomplished this feels really good. But I squeeze it in when I can, right? I mean, like many people on this call, presumably you have paying clients. This is not, no one's paying me to develop this pitch. So I have to squeeze it in. And so by next week, I'll hopefully have my plan for my, whatever you called it, for the small outreach. But the overall goal for myself was so that I can enter 2021 knowing what I'm doing in PR.
Yeah. Okay. Hold that thought. Rita, unmute yourself. So in our small group, I asked Rita, I said, what would you like? What would you like right now? Or something like that, right? Rita, what was your answer?
I said gobs and gobs of money.
Right? You said gobs and gobs of money.
Yeah. Well, you asked what I wanted.
Let me ask you something, Clemens and Rita.
Okay.
What if the access to gobs and gobs of money was actually opening your mouth?
I'd talk a lot more.
This is true.
People didn't want you to brag, right? Like that moment that I show up at that board and they're like, quit talking. And all I'm saying is, we got to tell everybody about the amazing things we're doing in here. We got to tell them about it. Shut up, noisy. God, you're so loud. You have such a loud mouth. Be quiet. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that in my life.
I totally get that.
People don't pay me. They pay me to
I grew up as the youngest.
Mouth is what gives me the money.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. The other thing that we talked about is that we constantly make ourselves wrong. What if, and I love PJ days, I highly recommend tomorrow, Saturday, when you wake up, stay in your pajamas. Okay, if you don't have pajamas, if you're not a pajama person, go ahead and put them on, okay? My brother does not like pajamas, always annoyed me, but I am a pajama person. I have like those adult onesies, right? Like a dragon, like a whale, like crazy like that. I love those. And I don't know why my husband doesn't like gift me those. I always ask for the onesies and he's like, then he gives me something else. And I'm like, but he goes, those PJs are a little more appropriate for my wife. Because when I come in with the big dragon, I guess it's not as sexy as some other PJs. Oh, my poor husband. God love him. Anyway, have a PJ day, right? And that means you stay in bed all day and you do nothing. You can watch TV, you can read, you have no expectations. Remember when we had summer break as kids? We don't have that as an adult. What if that's all you're supposed to do? What if that was your access to gobs of money? See, we have so many shoulds. I should do this. I should write. Michelle said I need to read pages 95 through 147. Oh, for God's sakes, that's too much. Screw that. And then you put it away and then you don't do it, right? Whatever. Who said you had to do that? You know what I'm saying? Yes, Mitch. Just like he's got it printed out. What if the workbook was like this? Open up and whatever you just opened up, just do that and nothing else. And then just get on the phone to your local press. I'm just trying to like mix it up, okay? Because we have a linear way of thinking, probably because of some type of conditioning from our past, as children, as young adults, professionals. And honestly, Clements and Rita, the difference between gobs of money and not is usually just who knows about your services. So Rita has a book she's promoting. Clements has a service that she's promoting. Clements has a service she's promoting. Literally, other people are calling this the year of mourning. Do you know how many people need your services right now? And you're just like, next year. It's fine, only because you feel like you have to have the perfect message, like you have to have the perfect, but the world is at the speed of the internet. Like the minute we can write something down and have it lightly proofed, it's out there.
You're right. I am waiting for it to be whatever my view of perfect is. That makes me feel that I can actually put it out there. And lightly proofed is not sufficient for me. I need to obsess about it a little more than that.
Well, and then I can help you with that because I am the persnickety proofreader helping you put your best phrase forward.
I love it. You guys network in there, right? Because I know that some of you have already hired each other. That's perfect. This is what, and then the other piece of it was like, this is just a community, a safe community for you guys to find yourself. I have no expectation for your PR plan, Clements, right? And then Rita, I wish you gobs of money. I'm just sharing with you my insights on that, okay? I have no idea how you're going to get from one step to the next step, but I do know that we constantly should on ourselves, right? The whole, I don't even know who came up with that, right? But I should do this, I should do that. And then you're shooting on yourself, right? And I try to stop myself because I too, you know, I literally said to a client today and he goes, just dream a little bit. This is a man who's very wealthy, right? And I'm the hired help, but I'm inside this country that he's just gifting money to, right? He's just, for him, this is a giveaway. My services, Wasabi services for him is part of what he's giving away to the world. So he's asking me to quit, I'm like, I need to know who to call tomorrow. He's like, why don't you just wait until after the election? And the racehorse in me, you know, I grew up in Louisville, you know, Derby girl, right? I was like, oh, there's no time. We got to get on the phone tomorrow. And then you're going to judge me for not getting results. And so I just said what was so. I said, well, there's a lot of people in your life who think that I should have you on national TV. He goes, I don't even like national TV. I have to talk in sound bites. I don't want that. I didn't know what to do with myself. And so I just relaxed and I said, what do you want to talk about? He goes, well, let's really talk about how to make a difference with people and their money. Maybe we don't have the answer right now. He goes, maybe you won't pitch me till next month. And I was forever changed by that conversation because I was really present to how I'm just constantly like, let's create a workbook. Let's dot all of our I's. Let's do all of these. Let's do a checklist, right? And so the minute, I have to admit, this week, my checklist, I'm just going to share this with you because I don't want you to think that I think checklists are bad. I am a checklist queen, okay? Here. Okay, that was yesterday, okay? I love crossing things off of a checklist. Like it's the most satisfying, like, right? And like a big old, yes, yes. Now, my friend Ashley, if you put she's like super creative, things are like, you know, no, she doesn't like that order of things, like really inhibits her creativity. So I don't know what your accesses the other side of your brain, but I do know that sometimes what we need to do is what we can do, not what we should do. Ooh, that's a good blog, right, Hannah? Maybe we should write that down. Okay. So with that said, we're talking about your big why. So thank you, Rita. Thank you, Clements. I like to put Elizabeth Babelbetter on the spot. Okay, let's unmute Elizabeth.
Okay, hi.
So Elizabeth and I met in Hawaii. My client, Dr. Matthew James, taught Huna, and she was studying Hawaiian Huna, and I was studying Hawaiian Huna because I was representing him. And then Elizabeth later signed up for a like a 6-part series. You did we had these books, and you did them with us, and so you've been sniffing around, showing up for years.
Yeah, that marketing class that I took with you guys through them. Yeah.
So I want to coach you live in front of everybody else.
Ooh, okay.
So I want to know, tell us a little bit about the why you do PR.
I was just actually telling Linda about that. So because there's kind of two sides to it. One of them is the fact that, you know, when a child finally turns 2 and everyone's saying, oh, they'll just catch up. They'll just catch up. If they don't have words that they're combining by 2 years old, that's probably going to affect their schooling years. So, so I feel like I want to get children and families prepared and aware, you know, that it starts at 18 months. If they're not saying words by 18 months, there's something you can do about it, right? And then if they're 2 and they still don't have like a good like base language, then it's, you know, you got to do something really quickly, because when they start school at 4, you know, they're going to start around 4. And, you know, if we're not at a good foundation yet, then they're going to be behind for all of their schooling years. And then there's the emotional level. And then there's, you know, not understanding the information. And then there's what are they going to make of themselves by then? You know, so there's that. And one of the things that I have to offer is I have a training that I have on my website that it's kind of like a masterclass that I want to be able to offer to families and offer to people to, okay, if you don't want to work with me one-on-one, because you don't have to do speech therapy if you want to do language enrichment. But if your child isn't doing if they're not communicating, if they're not understanding, you know, I have a friend that has a 9-month-old little boy, and I sent him a little blurb that I'm working on to post on my Facebook page. And I said, how does this look as a parent? And then after that, he said, well, so my 9-month-old isn't talking quite yet. And it actually turned into a conversation because he realized that his 9-month-old isn't using words very much yet. You know, and if they're not using at least 5 word or word approximations by 1, then that's already a little bit behind. Not saying that they're not going to catch up, but it's something to pay attention to. So it turned into an actual conversation where he might maybe need my services or need to access one of those skills.
So everybody take out a piece of paper, and I'm going to ask Elizabeth a series of questions. And yeah, if you have insights for Elizabeth while we're talking, or for Clements or Rita or any of our other people, maybe you also are reading some of the chat and you have insights for somebody, feel free to share, okay? And then contact them directly. But I'm going to ask Elizabeth a series of questions that you can ask too. What we're talking about is evaluating your PR campaign to the results. And Elizabeth is not new on this, that's why I chose her. So whether you just joined us fresh, or if you've been with us since September September or spring, or past years, these are good questions to always ask yourself. Okay, where do you see that course, that program? Where are you in a year and 5 years? Looking to the future and then back. What do you hope to manifest in your life with this, especially with this course in particular?
Well, I would like it to be self-sustaining, you know, where I just have so many videos on each level that once somebody wants the 0 to 18 month section, you know, they can just go there and find a ton of videos. a ton of worksheets and things like that. So right now I'm building it, and I'm putting like a video per, I'm just adding videos as I'm remembering, oh, this would be great for 2 years old. This would be great for 3 years old. So by, in about 5 years or so, or a year to 5 years, I would like it to be like a knowledge, like something that everyone knows. Oh yeah, you have a child that needs to learn how to talk better. Oh yeah, go to this site. They have some offerings that you can go to and practice a little bit and kind of learn a little bit, so that way you won't need speech therapy, like something like that. Like, it's adjunct. Oh, your child gets speech therapy. Oh, well, there's this site over here that has some things you can do along with it. So
in the way that we create right now, right, Elizabeth, are these courses, but in the past it was maybe a book or a training, right? Like you might offer keynote speeches, or every pathway in the world, right, for humanity, we have a different way of sharing our gifts and talents. So if we look back Shakespeare time, then you've got churches, you've got theater, you've got all of a sudden we get printing, and we can reprint books. So if we look at who we are as a human race and the way that we share, you start to do your work. You're a speech pathologist. You start to see that there's something that, oh my God, if everybody knew this, it would make such a huge difference. That piece, then you just want to amplify it and get it out in the world. Then what happens is life takes over, right? You're a working speech pathologist, so you're working with the people that you see one-on-one, and then you put that on the back. I don't care what Michelle and Drew said then. I don't have time for that right now, and it goes in the back, right? So I want everybody to write down where you're going to be in a year, 5 years. So for Elizabeth, Babble Better is a course that is on demand on the internet for parents, something like that, right?
Well, and actually, when I was working with you before, I had an idea for my website. So I actually finally set up my website so it's prepared for this. And it's a whole new website, right? The one that you went to before, like that's completely different than how it used to be. So I finally got that together. Like that actually even took a couple of years, which I probably shouldn't have let it go that long.
There's no should.
No, that's true.
It is. Make sure you put the where people can reach, because there's probably people that are listening to this right now going, oh, I have a young child in my life that could really, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Writer.com on Facebook, on my website, and on Instagram, and I have Babble SLP on Twitter.
Okay. Now what we do is we look at that's where you're going to be in a year or 5 years. You hope for that to be, right? Then we look back to today, October 23rd, 2020 at 1:46 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time zone you're in, okay? If we start to look at where we're going in a few years, 1 to 5 years, it becomes overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that, I got to do that. And we've got to release that pressure, okay? And we got to get into a dream state like that client was telling me, right? Because it shuts off creativity. And then a dream, like just to dream about, like, well, what would be possible if that actually happened, right? And then you start to look at like that this is what my life will look like. So Rita sells so many books that she has gobs of money, let's just say, as a for example. Clemens gets one article in a magazine, and then just clients line up like nobody's business, because they all want that type of book and that experience with their loved one sitting bedside at the end of their life. These types of experiences or contribution that we're making to humanity, right? But what stops us is that overwhelm piece, because we have to have it all done right now rather than just one phone call. So let's say Elizabeth, Clemens, Rita, and everybody else on the call, on the Zoom call, you don't have to do, you can be in a PJ day tomorrow, okay? PJs all day, but I want you to make one phone call, make one request. What if that one request was everything? What if, Elizabeth, you made one phone call to parents.com and they created the program for you? You were just the expert. And then all this other stuff, this busy work that you're doing is for naught.
Okay.
I actually think you should contact dailyohm.com and offer them, tell them what you do, and see if they won't help you with your course, because then they'll profit share with you.
Okay.
Now you'll profit share if you want all the profits for yourself. It's like self-publishing. Do you want to share the profits or not? But if you ask for help, some people will just help you with it and then create it with you and then share in the profits with you. Okay, we're going to do a break. And I want you to just talk about that one. It's one phone call. Let's make it a phone call instead of a direct message or a hangout or an email. Let's have a conversation with a live human being. And who is that? Is it a member of the press? Is it, of course, I'd love it to be a member of the press, right? Because they have a lot of capacity for you. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's an association. Maybe it's somebody that can just put you in relationships. Okay, we're going to break. That one thing on your PJ day.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Corrine, and I am a 21st century mosaic artist. This is my work behind me. It's something I did for a client in their shower. And I make beautiful mosaics, show-stopping centerpieces, even if it's your shower, small conversation pieces, decorated sculpture, or hardscape. And basically, if you want something that is the envy of everyone who sees it, make it a mosaic. Tracy Mosaic.
Yeah, so the thing that was present for me, like the one call for her would be, to me, what's in, if we look at media, again, sort of like Babel Better, I think that the parents' magazines, people are, or educational magazines, people are looking for art experiences for their children, and also seniors, right? So like AARP would probably eat that up, right? Or what about construction magazines, right? You're teaching them how to do, like Home Depot, do it yourself, right? Like right now we can't go to those, they've got like monthly classes where they're teaching us how to do something, but you could actually teach that for them in a virtual environment. I was sharing also with Tracy that I didn't know about soul collage. I made this morning, okay? And then there's like a whole other section of questions and whatnot. There's a thing called soul collage. My friend invited me to, and I'm now participating every Friday morning from a woman who's certified in a program called soul collage. I didn't even know about it. And it's this whole process that this woman, she created a book, a certification process, and there's just hundreds of people around the country who teach soul collage. I could see Tracy teaching mosaic magic and certifying people, teachers, into that, or those kinds of things. So thinking in terms of sharing it widely. Okay, if you've got other ideas for Tracy, throw them in the chat. And you've got 3 little dots at the bottom of your right chat. If you click on that, you'll save chat to your computer right now. So let's just kind of review what we did today. We reviewed your why you're doing PR. We talked about a sustainable PR plan, how to do it bite-sized, right? One phone call, one action. Even though your a year or 5-year plan is ahead of you, sometimes that can be manifested in one phone call. It's really what we did with Wasabi. Drew and I did a bunch of dreaming. I remember early on, I said, I just want to work with like international nonprofits. I want to make a difference, like on a nonprofit scale. That's what we started with. We made one phone call. He just cold called. He called the person who was marketing Doctors Without Borders. That person then referred us to Chris hired us for SOS Children's Villages, SOS Kinderdorf, and all of these other campaigns fell out of that. But it was literally just that. I don't think that Corinne even knows how important that phone call was in my life. She's still a friend. She's French, and she's like, hello, boo boo. Every time I call her, hello, boo boo. We cold called her. So who could you cold call that might like partner with you, refer you to somebody else, influencers that could just literally make it happen. And so what if it doesn't happen like this? Then tomorrow have a PJ day and just give yourself a break, okay? So the other thing that we talked about was what we're going to do in November. And I really want people to start thinking about making bold requests of other people to help you. You've got people in this group. I'm glad you're using this as a structure for, you know, creating something in your life. But there's lots of resources here. If you say, oh, I don't have any people in my life to ask questions, you got these people. You have Hannah. Email Hannah@wasabipublicity.com, and she will find you help. If you're like at the end of this call, you're like, I can't, bullshit is all I gotta say. Hannah will make it happen for you. And if she can't figure it out, she'll ask me, and then our team will get together and be like, no, we gotta make a difference for that person. So you're everybody good until November? Anybody have a burning question or share before we adjourn in 1 minute? I'm feeling like Marvin has a share. Rebecca? No? Everybody? Marvin just
I
left.
had a question. I have a question. What did you say for that we're going to focus on in November?
We start a whole new challenge, all fresh.
Oh, so we don't know what the challenge is yet?
Yeah, it's called the hashtag 21-day PR Action Guide Challenge, November 2020.
Okay. And where do we look in the challenge book?
You go back to, you end your, okay, so see how the linear brain goes, everybody, right? So not a problem. Want you to go back to, so finish the book until the end of, till Halloween. Then on November 1st, I want you to crack open page 1 again. And this time, but this time, look at Hannah, let me see if I can't do a thing. I want you to, in conjunction on November 1st, news, I think it's news@google.com. So in the context of what is the breaking news? See, today it's all about the debates that happened last night. On November 1st, it's still going to be about, yeah, that's the right link. It's still going to be about the election. But by the time we meet on November 6th, we will have known what happens with the election. So guess what? Then there's all kinds of room again for feature and lifestyle topics, which will not be possible right now. It's pretty much the pandemic and politics. So we'll want to, and also Halloween, right? So everybody wants like spooky fun, you know, like trying to not think about the reality of the pandemic, but just kind of getting a break. And it's so dominating the world that we want Christmas, that warm, fuzzy feeling of Christmas now. Tracy, that's an angle for you, right? Creating mosaics with your family could have that warm, fuzzy right now. You know, you could do like a harvest theme. I could go on, but I won't. We'll do it in November, everybody. Love you.